You know, once we're rolling, well, we're rolling now, so now you can't be. Now it's for real. Now it's stuck. It's permanently etched. Okay. Oh, hi guys. Hi, yeah, we're just setting up the camera here. My name is Desiree with Surrey604, and I'm hanging out with. I'm hanging out with the director. He's checking what I'm doing right now. He's being real sure about this. I'm hanging out with the director for a movie that's just coming out locally first in Surrey. I'm going to ask a lot of questions to him. His name is Inderveer Sodhi. Hey, I said it right. Here he is, right here. What's the movie about?
The movie is a coming-of-age drama based on the gang violence scene in Surrey. That's the best way I can put it. It's not an action flick. It's not a film that glamorizes the lifestyle of the youth that are involved in these kind of activities. I would like to say it's a character study. It's a very human film, and my goal was when I set out to make it was for people to empathize with those kind of characters that are often parodied or dehumanized in other various forms of media.
Yeah. So just watching the trailer.
Should we put the camera this way?
We can, except that it gets.
I mean, like pointing this way.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, like so, like it'll.
Yeah.
This will just be like that.
Sure.
It just feels more natural for me to sit like this.
Does it?
Yeah.
It feels more natural.
Like I'm looking at you here, but I'm like.
Yeah. It feels more natural for him to sit this way.
Strangely enough, the me wanting to make this was inspired by the relationship that I have with my mom. Because I know a lot of guys who are in this environment have great relationships with their mom, strangely enough, because I've grown up and I know that kind of bond they have. And then I think that there's a lot of moms who end up losing their sons. So I can only imagine what my mom would go through if that happened to me, or the kind of pain I would cause or how I'd feel. So just using that as the core ground of the story and telling the rest of the story around it was the inspiration. Because I want to humanize it. I think I'm really good at telling human stories and emotional dramas and all that kind of stuff. So that's sort of the route I took with telling a gang violence story.
Yeah, fuck you. Yo, but bro, man, the worst shit happened to our people in #84.
What happened?
Mandy's cousin, he's a cinematographer.
Yo, let's go.
He's putting it all together for us, bro.
Yeah.
We're all gonna be holding guns.
Wow. It's gonna be wild, bro.
Yeah.
You know all that Bindrawala stuff is bullshit, right?
Yeah, but who's that?
Yo, he's a revolutionary, bro, but the Hindus made him look like a terrorist. That's why we're doing a tribute to him, you know?
What's wrong with Hindus?
When's the last time you even went to the fucking Gurdwara?
Bro, you come to my house all the time. I have the Gurdwara in one of my fucking rooms.
That isn't fucking fun.
Yeah, it does, bro. It has a Guru Granth Sahib, same type of fucking deal.
Yo, is this the place?
Yeah, move over. I'm gonna shoot through the back, don't open the window. What the fuck are we doing? This Vudu used to fuck with my girl back in high school. Dude, you met the bitch a week ago. How many bitches have you fucked? Man, you're starting beef with somebody you don't even know. I know that he used to fuck with my girl back in high school. She's not even your girl. Says you? Have you fucked Harleen yet?
ਹੋ ਤੁਰ ਜਾਣ ਜੋ ਪੁੱਤ ਮਾਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਉਹ ਮੁੜੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਟੁੱਟੇ ਪੱਤੇ ਟਾਹਣੀਆਂ ਜੋ ਕਦੇ ਜੁੜ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਥੰਮੀਆਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਮਾਵਾਂ ਰੋਂਦੀਆਂ ਥੰਮੀਆਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਮਾਵਾਂ ਰੋਂਦੀਆਂ
I mean, from the few test screenings I've done, some people walk away really, really sad. Some people walk away really, really disturbed.
Yeah.
So there can be an element of fear, I think, but it's not a horror movie.
Yeah. No.
Contrary to the name.
No. Well, that's But I mean, like, yeah. Okay. So you brought it up. Why'd you pick the name?
This movie went through a lot of different names that I think were really terrible names. But and I finally ended up in Monster. But the idea of the name came from when I spoke earlier about how a lot of the times characters like the ones in the film, get dehumanized. Part of the dehumanization comes from the label that is attached to them, attached to their face. It's for words like gangster or Surrey Jack. So that's why the word monster is given to incite that same sense of like pre-notion about these kind of people, but the movie ends up deconstructing that, so that you watch the film and you're like, well, no, they're not. They're just like me and you. That's where that title comes from. I think it's very important, especially because we live in a society right now. I hate saying this and using this word, but it's very polarizing. A lot of the things that are talked about, news, media, just topics of discussion, people are either this side or this side. And I think it's really hard nowadays to come to a consensus usually, or to have a wider understanding of something. I mean, there's so many reasons I can break down why it's important for the deconstruction. But when I say deconstruction, it's not just of the characters, but also the culture. I want to say it's primarily the culture, which goes into the environment, the people, the religious influences, all those kind of things, which I consider part of the culture. That is deconstructed. Yeah, and I think it's deconstructed for deconstructs a lot of taboo things. And I think it's better because it opens up conversations that wouldn't be people would be having otherwise. And I think I deconstruct it in a way that's easy for people to understand. You don't have to be from Surrey. You don't have to be brown. You don't have to be able to speak Punjabi or be well versed in that culture to understand the film. I made it in a very universal way, but still staying true to the roots of the story. Yeah.
I know you talked about your mom inspired you.
Well, my relationship with your mom, in context to other people who also have that, because I grew up with people with a very similar upbringing as me, yet they're in a different place today, and I'm like, why? And also, yeah. So interestingly, I don't think I have a style. I think the style that ends up being shown or created is completely based on the story. So whatever the story requires is the style I end up going for. So the film I'm working on next is very different than this. It's not a serious drama at all. So it's not. I think if you watched it, you would be like, I don't think Inderveer made this, because some people might get privy to the idea that this is my style. But filmmakers I really look up to are Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve. They're primarily sci-fi drama directors, but an influence that I had specifically for this film was a film called Moonlight, which came out a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And
I love that film, and I always thought that I wanted to do something similar in that style, but for the place that I've grown up in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a primary influence. But there's so many weird influences that have nothing to do with gang violence or dramas that also influenced me. I think that the cinematography style of Christopher Nolan influenced me on how to shoot this. So things like that. But in terms of like the closest inspiration, in terms of like the content and the story, would be like Moonlight.
Yeah. I mean, is this your first feature?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's my first feature as a director, writer, actor.
The whole nine.
This is my first feature. Yeah.
So okay. Why?
Right.
I mean, is there, and what did you like best?
I love this question. So, why? So we had released a video for Indiegogo to crowdfund our film about a year and a half ago, when we needed the money to make the film. And for some reason, I remember when we had released that video, a lot of people thought that Monster was actually a TV show. From the way that video looked, it gave it like a web series type of feel, so they thought this would be an episode thing, and I thought that was actually a very interesting idea, and I'd be really interested if someone ended up making a spin-off of Monster in that style, because I think TV is a really good medium, but I just knew for this specific story I wanted to tell, needed 2 hours and no more and no less. Or sorry, an hour and a half. So the film was an hour and a half. I needed the format of a film, you know, like a beginning, climax, and I didn't imagine what I would do if this was like an episode per episode thing. And there's a certain like uniqueness that a feature film has. Like it's an experience, you know, sitting back and watching something for an hour or two with, you know, the full element of a background score and seeing the progression of a character. Like that just medium and format just seemed right for this. And then I love making music and I love acting and I love directing, so I just found myself doing all of those things. But at the same time, the story also has a lot of other characters in it, and the film is an ensemble film, so it has about 13 or 14 other characters in the film. I'm one of those 13 or 14. I think I enjoy all of them. I can't choose, but I will say that directing is very difficult to do. Out of all the tasks, and directing and acting at the same time on set is the hardest thing to do. To constantly be in that mindset and then be in a more pragmatic and analytical mindset to see that everything's kind of happening. But something that I enjoy that I greedily enjoy is making music. So making music for the film was awesome. I do it alone. I don't need anyone else in the room with me. It doesn't depend on anyone else to be there. And I have full freedom with that. So that's the thing I enjoy the most, is composing the songs for the film. It was a song called Moth, reprise version. Okay. And the song is a back and forth between a mom and a son. And they're talking to each other. So that was the concept behind that song. And that was, I think, one of the most appreciated songs because it just connects with so many people. Yeah. I think that, as well as the last track on the film, on the album, is my favorite. Yeah.
Where are you going to take this? Like, obviously...
I'm sorry, I avoided saying the name of the track just in case they don't understand the Punjabi names of the songs. Yeah. So the last song is called Zakham Batere, so that's one of my favorite songs.
Zakham Batere?
Yeah. You're young with the pronunciations. Like, even my name, a lot of people butcher it all the time. I've been called Interview so many times. Interview. Like, not Inderveer, but Interview.
In the middle of an interview? Across the street here.
Yeah.
Awesome theater.
Yeah.
How'd you get to do that, by the way? Because I'm sure there's a lot of young filmmakers going, oh my god.
Yeah.
And have they done this kind of stuff before?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure they've done premieres, but I don't think they've had films like this that are locally made or independent or my age group. Yeah. But I'll break down the whole process because it was a monster of a process.
Nice. Okay, go for it.
It was brutal. I mean, every aspect of this film was so difficult, man, and just, I mean, where do I even start? Like casting and, you know, I'll just quickly summarize, like writing the film, meeting people, getting rejections, finally finding people who want to do it, them accepting it, building the team, getting everyone together in the same room, rehearsing for 6 months, then like finding out like sets and locations and hiring crew, getting the money to make the film. But like right now I'm just like, I feel so free because it's all done. Shooting the film, and we shot the film in 6 days. That's all we need. I mean, we would love to have more time, but because of the budget constraints, and people, I mean, it's difficult to work with people that are also strangers to each other, not only strangers to you. So there's so many factors that go in, and so yeah, I was like, no, we gotta get this done in 6 days, and we got that done because people have exams and people have their other lives, and you know, this was youth my age, around in their early 20s, voluntarily being a part of this project, you know, so that was a huge deal. And then after it was shot, for the next 6 months I was in my room editing, and that took a long time. Just so many versions of the film, and I would like to, I'm an indie filmmaker right now, so we don't have the best equipment and all those kind of high-end stuff, so a lot of things don't go as imagined. So when you're sitting in the edit room, you see things that, oh, I wish I could have done this, or crap, like I wish I had just checked this thing. Or one of the days we needed 40 extras which signed up to be a part of it. On the day, 30 of them canceled. only 10 showed up, so we had to quickly figure out how do we make this club look packed with 10 people, and we did. It looks packed.
It does. I saw the little walk-in that you had. I'm like, whoa.
You know, but like quick problem solving and just like, you know, once the film got made, it came to releasing it, and over the course we had built up so much hype for the film from so many different kinds of people, like people my age, younger, high schoolers, older people, and I'm like, man, we got to do a good release. Initially we had plans to release it in a like an art center type of thing where people, it's easily accessible. But I'm like, I mean, we spent so much time, and I spent so much time in the post-production of having good sound and the music and the visuals to look really stunning. I wanted the release to be just as grand. I did a lot of research on how to get your film in a theater, and like, short answer, it just requires a lot of money. So that meant we were meeting investors to pitch the film, the finished product. You know, not just a story or a summary. We had the finished film to pitch. And so many people, we went through countless rejections. We as in, like, I was only one in those rooms, as long as some older peers, and mentors were there. And just countless rejections, and I'm like, no. And most of the time it was because they didn't want to associate themselves or their business or their brand to a film that had a lot of swearing in it, and that's completely understandable, because the film, I was not gonna, you know, bleep or take stuff out. Like, my vision was that, I was strong on that, but most of the time it was too raw for some people's brands, which is completely understandable. One day we eventually found investors, we pitched to them, and they were sold on it right away, and you know, the premiere wouldn't be happening without them. Then there's all these steps and like getting into theater, so I had to get like licenses, theater licenses, municipal licenses, get my movie rated by the censor board, and then all those licenses have their individual costs, and they take weeks to process. And then in a theater, there's a certain type of format that the projector can play called DCP. So I had to get my film converted into that format, which takes a few days, and that costs a lot of money. And eventually, it's like the premiere ends up costing more than it took to actually make the film. You know, our budget for like the movie itself costs around just over $4,000 to make. Which is
great job.
Which is like not a lot for a feature film.
Yeah, but you know what? Hey, I know what it takes to get there.
And like more than that is what it costs to get into the theater. So through those months, man, like it was as hard as you could imagine. I went through bouts of depression, many phases of that. I'm a very sensitive, emotional kind of guy, so every time something happens, like, oh, it's done. I'm ruined.
What could you have used to help?
You know, when I look back to it, it's things that I feel like every director goes through. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe some of the things that other filmmakers my age deal with are just things that they gotta figure out themselves, like just the power, like the willpower to get up and make the film, or finish the project. Because I know a lot of filmmakers have started amazing ideas and they don't end up finishing them because of the same hurdles that they go through as other filmmakers or the things I've gone through. But the main problems I went through was just like the money and finding people to believe in your project. And I think you'll find that even when I'm 30 or I'm 40, you're going to find people who don't believe in that specific film or that concept, and then you might not get the funding for it. But experience is something I think you just kind of got to go after yourself. My experience started way back in high school when I joined our media arts class, helping other students with their films or just making my own short films in high school. And so I did open this opportunity for my next film for other younger filmmakers who want to intern with me on my next film, so they could garner experience for themselves. And I thought that was something I could give back. But other than that, I think I learned a lot, so now I know how to pitch my ideas better, so people will believe in it or have a better understanding of what I'm trying to convey. Sometimes that's the big problem with artists. We understand everything up here, but we don't know how to communicate or articulate that to other people who might not see that. And that's a very important quality or skill to have, I think. So I'm primarily self-taught, and I just did this through like watching YouTube videos or like studying films or filmmakers I like a lot, going out there, making a short film, failing, learning from it, like just, you know, that kind of process. But that's just the way I've learned. I just like that for me. I just like that myself. A quick story of what happened with me after high school was I got into a school in the U.S. called Berkeley, which is very prestigious for music and film. Because initially I thought I was just going to be composing music. I auditioned for the school. It was a long process. I got in. I was ecstatic about it. Parents couldn't afford for me to go there, and it was way out of reach financially for my family and myself to go there. So I ended up taking a similar music program at SFU, and after about 2 semesters, it was brutal those 2 semesters because I felt like I wasn't learning anything new. I felt it was very limiting creatively for me. There's a lot of times when I wanted to expand on assignments and I just wasn't able to because of the professor's requirements. And I'm like this. I mean, I have all this knowledge that I've acquired from other experiences that I'm just not being able to put to use or apply. So I dropped out. So I'm a college dropout. And then I just set out to. Right when I dropped out, I released my first album. And after my first album is when I started working on Monster, my first feature film.
Wow.
So that's my little journey.
That's a good journey.
I gotta say, I learned while making the film. I wasn't making the film like knowing everything what to do. I was learning it throughout the process. You know, there's this saying I forgot. I think it's like adversity births success or something, or something like that.
Yeah. I go with that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A great art comes out of struggle.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Flowers out of, you know.
Yeah.
Totally. This has been an awesome interview. I don't know, anything you want to say to the Surrey604 crowd? We don't have a big enough following, in my opinion. I really feel that. I think y'all need to follow the YouTube channel. We're trying to do some things here. We're trying to change some things up. My name is Desiree Amuzu. This is Inderveer Sodhi.
Thank you so much for this interview.
Yeah, it was awesome. And you've been watching Surrey604.com. Peace.